This is Mr. Martin. These are video notes for Pre-Calc Advanced. We're talking about parabolas. This is the third video. We're actually talking about the second problem for the we do problems. So we want to find the focus. So all we need to do is find the focus. We may do a little bit of extra credit on this problem and find a few more things, but really all we're doing is looking for the focus. And what we want to do to find this is take our equation that we're given and put it into standard form, because right now it's not really in standard form. So just like all the problems that we do like this, we're going to take anything that's squared and those variables and move them to the left and put everything else on the right. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I want to get rid of that 1/6 on the right side. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by -6, the reciprocal of -1/6, and that will get rid of that. So I'm going to end up with -6y is equal to x squared plus 4x minus 2. And I'm going to flip everything around. So I've got x squared plus 4x minus 2 equals -6y. I literally just flip the sides. I'm going to move that 2 over to the other side. So I have x squared plus 4x is equal to -6y plus 2. And now I need to complete the square on the left, so I have a perfect square trinomial. So I have x squared plus 4x plus something, we'll fill that in a minute, equals -6y plus 2, and then whatever we add on the left we're also going to add on the right. So remember, when we complete the square, we take half of the b term, half the coefficient of the x term, or the linear term, and square that. So that would be 2 squared over there, and add 2 squared on that side. This now becomes a perfect square trinomial. So I have x plus 2 squared is equal to -6y plus 6. And as our final step, x plus 2 squared will factor in -6. And we end up with y minus 1. So this is our standard form, and we're going to use this to find everything else that we need to. So a couple of things that I noticed from here. I notice my vertex is at -2, 1. Remember, the h is always with the x and the k is always with the y. So we're going to come over to here. So my vertex is -2, 1. And I also see that my x is squared, which means it's going to open up or down. So it's going to be vertical, and so here's the value in front here, this -6, this is equal to 4p in my standard equation. So we're going to set this equal to 4p to find out what p is. But the fact that it's negative means that p is negative, which means it's going to open in a negative direction. So vertical, and since p is less than 0, parabola opens down. Okay, and I know that my 4p is equal to -6, which means that p is equal to -6/4, which is -1.5. Now, I will almost always make a graph and just figure everything out from the graph. So I'm going to start with my vertex at -2, 1. So here's my vertex. I know it's going to open down, so I'm just going to sketch something in. It doesn't really matter what I sketch in, but we do know that it opens down. And since I want to find the focus, I know the focus has to be somewhere inside the parabola, so it's going to be below my vertex. Since p is -1.5, I'm going to go 1.5 units below my vertex. So that would put my focus at -2, so I'm still going to go -2, and then 1.5 units below this. If I'm up at 1 and I go down 1.5, that's going to put me at -0.5, and that gives us our focus, which is basically all we needed to find for this problem. Now, once we know what p is And once we know where our vertex is, we can find our axis of symmetry, we can find the directrix, we can find the length of our lattice rectum, we can find the endpoints of the lattice rectum as well. So we'll look at that in number 3, finding all those different parts. But for number 2, all we're looking at is finding the focus. Again, if you had any questions, make sure that you write those down or ask me if you happen to be watching in class, and we'll see you next time.